How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Big Daddy Dave, and this is another Farm Sim Talk. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. We are joined here by Looney Farm Guy. Looney, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. All right, so Farm Sim Talk is a show where we get to interview other creators throughout the farming simulator community. And tonight it is Looney Farm Guy. And personally, I am really excited about this one because I don't know about people out there, but I know me personally, I use a lot of the tutorials that Looney puts out in order to make sure that I am not just making an absolute hash out of everything that a mod has to offer. So if it wasn't for him, and I would probably just turn my nose up to about, I don't know, 80% of the mods that are out there. And that's being generous. So, Looney, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for what you do here in the community.
Oh, my pleasure. And just yeah, here to I don't do a lot of live stuff anymore, so it'd be nice to have a little chat and have the have the viewers get you know get to know the other side, I guess.
Absolutely. So, tell you what, go ahead and let everybody know where we can find you.
Oh, yeah, Looney Farm Guy. That's at on YouTube. That's it. I'm only on YouTube. I'm not on Twitch. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not, that's it. That's all I can. That's literally all I can handle, anyways. Um, Sometimes not even that. So yeah, strictly on YouTube. Yeah, Looney Farm Guy. That's punch that up. I should pop up. I know I've got enough videos out there. So.
And before we get started, do you want to give anybody any shout outs or any recognition before we get going?
Um, well, there's lots of people actually, but I mean, uh, at risk of sounding like really like a suck up or something like that, uh, really the people well, the one person I'm sure everyone knows, Mr. Sealy P. He really was the inspiration for it's like okay, this guy's plays on console. This he's doing this stuff. It's like what why I'll just why not just give it a try, right? I mean, so but then again, a recent guest, Rusty Bunny, he's also a good friend of mine through the farming simulator world. I've never met in person, but I feel like I know him just over the years. So um yeah, I know I'm missing. I mean, a lot of my uh, real loyal viewers. I know I see Dust Bunny in here. She's we met through Rusty actually through Rusty actually. So and I see a lot of Mr. Nuclear Salmon. I see Why Not Gaming. Um, yeah, there's a bunch out there. And to be and to be um, yeah. So even I've even gotten to know um, DJ Gohan a little bit, like within the past year. He's actually a really really great guy. So um, sometimes he might come off a little bit. Um, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, but really everyone is really Brian Baru. That's where I got my hat from. I don't know if you know Brian Baru royalty. Doesn't do a lot of videos anymore, but he was at yeah. I know many of the viewers know him. But anyways, yeah, that's just a few.
Okay. No, I'm not familiar with that name, but definitely several of the people that you mentioned there. Great bunch of people. Rusty actually did an interview here uh, about a week or so ago, and we actually did something together on the back end. And after the stream, I'll let you know. But yeah, Dust Bunny, Nuclear Salmon, Why Not Gaming. Yeah, all of them are a great bunch of folks. So thank you so very much for all of you being out there tonight. Before we get started, if you have any questions for Looney Farm Guy, go ahead and type it out in the chat there. And in between each segment, I'll do my best to make sure that we kind of go through and cover those questions going forward. So, Looney, the first segment that we have to go into is called Digging Up Dirt. This is a segment where we're getting to know you outside of your channel and the personality that you have created on the internet. And I did get one question prior to us meeting today from a fan, and I thought it was kind of important to go ahead and just take a moment to make sure that we kind of push that out there first before we kind of get rolling into the more broader questions. So, a couple of days ago, I was reached out to, uh, and it was a super huge important question, one that I was genuinely interested in finding out myself. So, the question was, who was your favorite NFL team?
I wonder who asked that.
I
Hmm. There's any clues? Yeah.
so
So yeah. I've been a fan of the Chiefs since. So not bad bandwagoners. As It's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a Swiftie, but my daughter is, by the way, and thank goodness she is because she finally starts watching football games. She never liked football before, and now she's a fan. So more to talk about that later. But no, back in 1991, me and my buddy went down to Kansas City and we seen a game and Arrowhead Stadium, 75,000 people, Chiefs win. Been a fan ever since. So.
okay.
But it's not a football interview, but that's part of, yeah, that's sometimes when it's like Sunday, on Sundays I kind of like, I'm watching football.
So to kind of inform everybody of the kind of inside joke that's going on right now, Looney Farm Guy reached out to me a couple of days ago after I pushed a notification out to let everybody know, hey, this is going live on X date. Go ahead and make sure you tune in. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. And Looney ended up responding to said comment. So that's kind of the inside joke. So let's get on to our regularly scheduled questions here. So is YouTube, because you said you're exclusively on YouTube, is YouTube your primary job or do you have a job outside of content creation?
Well, that's a good question. So I was still working when when I decided to start up the YouTube channel. I didn't really think, I didn't really have any big aspirations or any like goals necessarily, except for uh, uh, aside from every YouTuber's goal to reach 1,000 subs. I mean, that's kind of the the first like step or the first goal, I guess, that anybody really has. But I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. I just actually wanted to just have a little bit of fun and see where it would went. So I was still working at the time, and through a few. Well, this was, let's see here. So then COVID, or I don't know if you want to say, the pandemic happened, and things kind of, the world went a little haywire for a while. But I ended up working from home, and at some point they wanted everybody back at the office, and I just said, you know what? No. So at that time, my channel had been doing pretty good. And so it's just like, okay, well, let me just go both feet in full time into the YouTube thing, and I've been ever since, really. So
Well, that's fantastic. And considering that we had mod drops like today, where over 80 some mods released, gonna need that full time intervention into your content in order to be able to get through all that. So that's awesome. That's excellent. So, what kind of family dynamic do you have?
so it's just me and the wife. We're old enough to be, well, close to retirement, at least, anyways. And we got a little farm dog Max to keep us busy, and that's yeah, that's about it. The daughters moved out a long time ago, so Yeah.
Okay. So how is it? How do you find the proper balance between the home life? Because you said you don't you do this full time now. How do you find that proper balance between the home life and the content creation side?
When the wife bangs on the door and says, "You never spend time with me anymore," then it's like, okay, well, it can get really out of whack because I mean which is kind of interesting because I really rely on more or less like the mods. Basically, that's my main deal is reviewing, testing mods. So if there isn't any mods on a particular day, well, it's like I could either do a let's play video or I could just spend time away, which I often do. So there are breaks like that, which I'm grateful for. And we had the Christmas break where Giants were pretty much out of the office. So it's not like I'm like nailed to the computer 24/7, but some weeks it feels like that.
So you mentioned that you're a football fan, into the Chiefs. Are there any other sports that you're into?
Yeah, so growing up in Canada, it's like hockey was pretty much like if you yeah, it was pretty much like ingrained into your life. So um yeah, grew up with that. Played it, watched it, went to games like NHL games. Other sports, I as a young fella dabbled with golf. Was never really good at it. Um, Sports, I guess if you could call, I mean, like never was into hunting, but fishing. I did a lot of fishing. Love fishing, still do. Um, of course, nothing really sports wise, nothing really serious. Nothing. I never went to university or college, or never played any high school sports. But yeah, just sports in general. Pretty much tried basketball, didn't like it. Um, um, yeah, pretty much the normal stuff, I guess.
So it was my understanding that people who grow up in Canada when they're born, they're not handed their mother first, but rather they're handed a hockey stick. Is this true?
Yeah, and their first shoes are actually skates, so
Okay, so it all adds up. So you're into fishing. Is there any particular type of fishing that you prefer to do? I mean, I presume that being up there in Canada, you do a lot of freshwater fishing and potentially even creek or river fishing.
yeah. So we have two big rivers in the middle that come well, like go right through the middle of our city. So it's not, you're never too far away from. There's actually a creek just out behind my house that I often or sometimes go fishing in. Little pike in there, so it's kind of fun sometimes. The rivers will have a little bit more like catfish and freshwater drum and that kind of thing. So it's mostly still fishing. It's pretty muddy. So the cat, it's like bait fishing. But then what I really like is going out to some of these a little bit more remote lakes where the pike are a little bit bigger. I love pike fishing. I just love the aggressiveness of the fish and picking your lure, casting it out there, and just that feeling when that pike just nails that lure is nothing else. So that's my preferred. We do
And
have
it's
ice fishing here, but it's more of an excuse to sit in a shack and drink some wobbly pops than anything else. So
absolutely. Being born and raised in Michigan, I'm very familiar with the whole ice shanty etiquette. So, uh, not personally, but certainly through the adults around me at the time.
mm.
So, so I completely understand. So, outside of the hobby realm, do you read any books or consume any movies or anything like that?
Not much of a movie person, although um, we do follow some of the Disney series like the Mandalorian, and so I'm into science fiction basically. I love, so if it's a science fiction movie, I tend to watch it. Other than that, not so much. I used to read a lot of science fiction, not so much anymore. Um, but Star Trek is my choice genre, but I do love Star Wars stuff too. It's not like I pretty much like anything in that basic genre. So a lot of science fiction references to my tidbits of useless knowledge.
So, what would you say is your favorite sci-fi, either movie, novel?
Definitely the Star Trek. Like the Star Trek movies were, I, the, I mean, there were some better than others, but those are pretty much my top five stuff. Stuff like Aliens was pretty good, but it's kind of like that's yeah. I really do like that. Um, it's just the intrigue about, and you see a lot now. You see like where did these things come from? How did they, where, it's all that kind of, I all find it all fascinating.
You're referring to like the prequels that are coming
Yeah, the
out.
prequels and like, so yeah, the prequels to it, and it's like, oh, and they kind of, and how that all kind of develops. My first, um, my kind of introduction to science fiction, like when I was a kid, was basically most of the science fiction authors at that time were almost dead already that I was reading. So like Robert Heinlein and Isaac Asimov and those kind of authors, they're like the grandfathers of science fiction, I suppose. So kind of intellectual science fiction, perhaps, I guess. That's why I kind of like the Star Trek more than the Star Wars. Star Wars is much more of I would say um, a theatrical science fiction, whereas Star Trek is more of a on the theoretical science fiction, perhaps.
Hmm.
You know, yeah.
And what about
Maybe we're getting
music?
too deep.
What about music? What kind of music are you into?
Music. That's a really great question. Um, a little bit of everything. Of course, I grew up on like growing up. My influences were like 80s rock music, pretty much. So bands like Rush, Heart, um, stuff like that. Um, and then I do like some pop music now. Actually, my daughter kind of got me into K-pop, which is really weird. But but I like I mean I played in a band, so we played a lot of blues and kind of jazzy blues stuff. So rockabilly, um, that's really fun to play. So kind of like stuff like so. Yeah, it's kind of pretty much all over the place. But now, what I have found, so walking into the grocery stores, the music they're playing is just like rocking. Like I mean, that stuff is that was all my music from when I was growing. It's like, hey, I like that song. It's like, oh, that's a great song. To hang out in the grocery store more often.
Just you just kind of hold up in a corner somewhere and just listen to tunes all day.
Right? It's like, go off. I just want to sit back and chill to the tunes.
Hey, they
I know
just
you're
put
getting
on
old,
Def
man.
Leppard. Oh,
Rod Stewart, Elton John.
so who would you say would be your favorite band or artist?
Ooh, um, that's tough. I don't know if I could really pick a favorite band. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know if I could. I mean, it's yeah. It's kind of like yeah. No, I don't. I wouldn't. I can't say I have Alexa. Yeah. If I picked one, it's like, well, maybe no, that maybe not that one. Maybe yeah. No, I yeah.
See, I always ask that question because I get a very similar answer almost every single time. It's like, what's your favorite movie or what's your favorite band? And oftentimes people will give that very same one. It's like, oh well, it just kind of depends on the mood I'm in. Today I'm a big Def Leppard fan, but tomorrow I might be into something else. It's just very kind of fluid kind of thing. So no, I always ask it, but I don't expect an answer kind of thing. So let's say something happened tomorrow and you were unable to create content ever again. You just either couldn't or just didn't want to. What would you do in its place?
Oh, that's a good question. And it might happen someday. You never know. I mean, that's a really valid question, actually. Um, I got a lot of. I mean, my um my, my career basically my working career was basically fixing cars. So I was like a auto body repair technician, painting, mostly painting, but stuff like that. Don't do that anymore, but I still work on all my own cars. So that usually keeps me busy in the summer. Winter, not so much. I don't want to be outside. It's minus 30 outside. I don't want to be I want to be working on my car in the cold. But um, yeah, I mean, yeah, what would I do? I mean, there's a lot of projects around the house that probably need doing that I've been avoiding for the last 3 years. So I, who
Yeah,
knows? I might get a part-time job, but I've gotten really used to being at home. So it's really nice not having to go outside when it's cold or rainy or you just don't feel like it. So
I completely understand what you're saying there. I don't do my channel full time, uh, but I do work remote, so I think I'd be probably in a similar position as you are. They said, "Hey, you got to come back tomorrow," kind of things. Like, no, so I
yeah,
understand.
I was really okay. I mean, I was working. My job was basically remote work, anyways. Even if I was at the office, nothing happened there. It was all cross country stuff. So I mean, it just didn't make any sense. Yeah, the situation is just like what. But yeah, I was really liking it. So when transition to full time YouTube was pretty easy.
So you mentioned that you were into fixing up cars. Let's say money was no object, and you could pick out any vehicle in the world.
1967 Corvette Stingray,
Oh, a man after my own heart.
or with the four oh which one, which engine? That would be the difficult part is picking out which engine I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Always
Yeah,
is.
definitely
Always is.
fuel injection.
Definitely fuel injection.
Probably
Mm-hmm.
327, maybe I don't know. It'd
Yeah.
be hard to pick.
See, we're back to the previous question. Who is your favorite band, and what's your favorite motor?
One that makes it go fast and sound really good. That's
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm-hmm. So, so you said that you worked in the auto repair. Was it just for like a local shop or?
Well, it's over the years it was just about every shop. You tend to it's a funny industry. At least here it is. It's you either stay at one shop your whole career, or you end up kind of moving around because you just get tired of the BS at one place, and you go to another shop and you just get a different kind of BS to deal with. So it's kind of new. So, but I guess that's what it's like with any job. But um, yeah, I mean, I always, yeah, I mean, I always got along with pretty much anyone more or less. But when you're young, you tend to be less tolerant of things when you get older. So,
Completely understand you there. Now, what would you say that you think you're not very good at, but others who know you would disagree?
oh, um, No, that's a good one. Um, I don't know. I think well, it's. I mean, my profession. You know, you kind of have to know you're good enough to do what you do if you're in a trade. So it's kind of there has to be a little bit of arrogance there, I think, but you have to be able to um, recognize when you screw something up too, and just be humble and say, yeah, I screwed up. So, but pretty much anything outside of that is like that isn't your 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 specialty or your trade. You kind of always think you could do like anything you look at, even if you say you fix a car and you look at it yourself and you say, oh, you know, I could have done that a little bit better. You always self-criticize a lot more if someone else looks at it, they may not see any of that and say, oh yeah, that's perfect. So I think in general, I think for me at least, um, you know, you look at something you did and you're always seeing the flaws because you're the one who did it and you know where you would, you know, you're looking at yourself where you want to improve stuff, but someone else may look at it. So I think even my videos, it's like I really don't like looking back at them because it's, oh, you know, I messed up here, I you know, I could have done that better or whatever, which is sometimes good because then you can like next time it's like, okay, I remember last time I did it this way, I could do a little better. So this time I'll try something new or try to do a little better. So yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned how Mr. Sealy P was one of the influences you had when starting your channel. And outside of your content that you create in your channel, what or who inspires you or motivates you right now?
Um, I think it's myself. Um, Mostly. I think you have to be self-motivated because I think generally speaking, um, most people I talk to don't have a clue about how the YouTube thing works or like, you know, or even what it is or why are you doing that? So it's not something I really talk too much about unless they specifically ask. So I think it's actually I think you have to be really self-motivated to do something like this. Um, because I don't think there is really a lot of other outside motivation for it. Aside from just seeing others do it, like other people, you know, making that effort or putting in that time themselves, like yourself or some of the other creators, and just realizing really how much work there is behind the videos that you see. So yeah, I guess that's about it.
And I can completely understand that, especially seeing, like, doing like a quick glance at your channel. Um, you have to have some serious motivation when looking at the over 7,000 videos that you have on your channel alone. I mean, that's an incredible number all by itself. So yeah, I mean, to be able to put out that much content over, years of time is, definitely requires a lot of self motivation and a lot of self drive in order to get there. So 100% understand that. Um, so what is one of your biggest fears that keeps you up at night?
Oh, YouTube saying it's like I don't know, somehow something coming through. It's like, yeah, somehow YouTube doing like, oh, well, you can't have a channel anymore. um, which almost happened to me at one point through a kind of a. It's a long story. I don't want to get into the details right now, but um, through a set of circumstances, and it seems pretty easy if you don't like some YouTuber. It's pretty easy to cause them a whole bunch of trouble, um, just through the YouTube. way YouTube works. So that's probably my biggest fear about the channel, anyways.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. It's very easy to kind of destroy, you know, things that have been built up over time, you know, especially here on YouTube. And I'm sorry to hear that that you went through something that's yeah, that's not cool. Um,
It did teach me it did teach me a lot of things, though. It opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it actually introduced me um to a few. It kind of opened up my world a little bit too. So I mean, in a way, it was not fun. It was kind of very stressful. However, it did have a positive, I guess you could say, positive outcomes. So silver lining.
well, I mean that's good though because you know, yeah, there's always that stressful kind of, you know, you think you're losing something you worked and put so much effort into. Um, but at the end of it, I mean, it sounds like that at minimum you learned something from it and you're able to kind of grow with the experience too. So that's a really positive outlook of it. So, who are your favorite creators? You mentioned Mr. CLP, you mentioned DJ Go Ham. Outside of the kind of the big creators that we mentioned before, um, who are your favorite creators inside the community here on Farming Simulator, and who are some of your favorite creators outside of the community?
Um, Good question. You got lots of great questions. Um, so to be honest, I don't watch a lot of farm sim content anymore since I'm so immersed in it already. I, I, it's easy to burn out on content like that. So I do keep tabs on DJ because he has the what he does is he's like he's more like it's for him it's informational. I like the farm sim news basically is what I pay attention to because he's got connections with all the modders. He kind of knows what's coming up. He kind of packages it into a pretty concise, easy to digest type of a package. So he's probably pretty much the only one I really tune into on a regular basis. I do keep tabs on everyone else, kind of see what they're doing. I don't watch a lot of it, honestly. Sorry to say, but I'd love to. I'd love to support a lot more, but it's just like I sometimes I literally spend all day on the game, making videos, like looking at the each separate mod and working on these things. I just kind of want to kind of get away from it on my spare time. So that's kind of the way it is with the farming simulator, unfortunately. But I think it's just um, it's a consequence of what I do, I suppose. As for other YouTubers or content creators, I follow a couple of football um, creators, Chiefs, a Kansas City Chiefs YouTuber. I've just started following a couple of YouTubers that for football, but they're yeah, another football one. I follow a farmer from South Saskatchewan, um, Mike Mitchell. Some of you probably familiar with him. Fairly popular, but who else? And just a spattering of this and that. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. And again, if money was no object, what would be your dream vacation?
Oh, probably some really remote lake somewhere that has like massive giant fish in it, and you just have a cabin with me and my I said probably me and my brother or one of my other fishing buddies, and here's a boat with gas, and go at it. Just I'm not much of a I mean, tropical islands fine. It just never seemed to be. I mean, I like warm places. Don't get me wrong. Um, but for me, it's like I can't lay in a beach for more than an hour or so, and I get like, is there any fish in that water? You got a fishing rod or something? Yeah, really, that's yeah. Odd as that might sound, yeah. Um, yeah, we were talking about flying in fishing, and that would probably be um, yeah. Go up there, maybe have a cook at camp making up dinner. So when you get back off your boat, you come inside for a nice hot meal, or maybe fry up your fish that you caught or something. And yeah,
Now, see, I completely understand and respect that because I'm the same exact way. I would much rather be out in the middle of nowhere where nobody was around, whether fishing, hunting, whatever, rather than being like out on the beach or at the resort or anything like that. Just give me silence. I don't want to hear anything but crickets and maybe the occasional bird passing by kind of thing. That's my idea of heaven. So I'm right there with you. So if you could meet any three people throughout history, who would they be?
wow. Um, that's I wow. Never really thought about that.
And they can even be
Um,
present people. It doesn't have to be like in the past or anything. It could be all throughout any timeline.
Probably someone maybe this is gonna be weird. Maybe like someone who lived around the time there you always hear these ancient cities that had all these like the Library of Alexandria, for instance. It's like supposed to be this famous no, library of all this knowledge that it's like, well, we don't, it disappeared. It's like, well, maybe someone who worked at the library there or something, and just to see some of these places that don't exist anymore. And it's like, what was it really like? Because sometimes, we kind of have an idea of what it was like, but then, maybe it was completely different than that. So, or someone who survived Pompeii there in Italy when the volcano erupted, and things like that, like events in history that no one's around to really tell what it was really like. So I don't know about
Okay.
three people. I guess maybe, but anyway, something like that. It's like it's all great to maybe meet Babe Ruth or something like that, but you know I'm more interested in like events in history than more than particular people. Although there have been a lot of influential people. Might be interesting to have a chat with Aristotle or something like that. Some of these really are some of these ancient people from back in ancient times that came, like how that came up with these math formulas or even like Da Vinci, for instance.
Okay.
Like he had like the man had all like the ideas that man came up with was incredible. Just to sit down and have an afternoon with him may or may not be interesting. I don't know.
Well, no, and yeah, Da Vinci would definitely be a good one there because I mean he was this kind of uh, obviously a great thinker, but he would dabble in just about everything. Just had so many different lines of thought that it'd be really interesting to try and kind of pin him down on, some of the big things especially. But no, I can totally understand and agree with both of those. Uh, Now to kind of rewind in your life, what was your first job?
Um, Basically, well, I don't know if we could call it a job. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, aside from the, usual kind of paper route stuff or flyers or whatever, um, well, pretty much well, even when I was still in school, um, the body shop down the street needed someone to, excuse me, um, um, start washing cars in a body shop, cleaning cars, vacuuming them out, stuff like that. And that was pretty much. I took auto body repair in high school, and then once out of high school, I was just continued at that shop, and they basically slowly moved me up into prepping cars and then painting, and that was it. That was on your way. So kind of, yeah, pretty much started right out in it. So
So you've really had the love of cars for quite some time.
yeah, it's pretty much been all my life. Yeah.
What would you say was the most interesting car that you got to work on?
Oh, got to work on. Oh, well, I've worked on lots of, not necessarily cars either. Um, so, so the shop that I started at, they would pretty much take anything in. They wouldn't say no to anyone or anything practically. Some old German guy was building an airplane, so it's a wood frame with fabric cover. He was building it in his garage or something, and he wanted so how these, or at least how that plane was made, or how he was making it. So yeah, as I said, wood frame, fabric cover, and then you painted the fabric to give it structure. And so yeah, he brought the pieces in. It was a special paint. I can't remember what kind of paint it was, but it was a special paint for this particular application. Started, you painted the wings, you painted the fuselage and different parts, and so that was kind of interesting. Um, and it was interesting too. It's like I didn't see it, but it's like, oh yeah, it was a Volkswagen engine that went into this thing, so that was interesting. Oh, what else? Yeah, all kinds of cars, sports cars, normal cars, old cars, um, classic cars. What else? I mean, and a bunch of junk like fridges and stoves and like literally just about everything. Um, yeah. Other than that, pretty normal stuff.
Okay.
Um, Boats. Um, yeah. If it floated or had wheels, we probably pretty much did something to it.
Well, that's kind of cool because I mean, I would never have thought of it before, but I mean, it makes sense that, if you have a shop with tools that you're pretty much open to fix whatever you possibly can. I would imagine that would be relatively common. I don't know. Um, so you'd mentioned how if money was no object, you would go after the Corvette, hands down. Now, to kind of spin that question just ever so slightly, what would be the car that if you could build it, from the ground up, would that be the car that you would go after, or would you go after something different, as something that you yourself would go through and restore?
Oh, restore. Actually, if you said build it, like I was thinking kit car when you said building a car. And of course, always for me, the ultimate kit car was the Shelby, the Cobra, because they have kit cars for that. That would be fun to build one.
Yeah,
Um,
that is
those
an
those was
absolutely
cool cars, yeah.
So what about a rebuild? What would it be, the Corvette, or would it be something else?
Um, uh, I did, I owned a 76 for a while, and the so there's a saying about boats. There's two best days. There's the two best days of owning a boat are when you buy it and when you sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, unfortunately, that was the same with my Corvette. I never had one before. I was so excited. I found this Corvette, bought it, and the darn thing. There's so many weird moving parts to those things. It is. It's just there's nothing normal on those things. Those things have about 2 dozen U joints in the drivetrain, and there's no room to work on anything. It's all crammed in there, and um, I finally just had to let it go. It was just impossible to work on. So, um, what was the question again?
So if you could choose a car that you would rebuild, which
Oh
what would it
yes,
be?
that's right. Yeah, I'd probably tend towards more of I mean I really like all cars. I mean it's I like the old muscle cars basically from the 60s, maybe early 70s. Um the Dodges, the Darts, the Challengers, the Camaros, the Mustangs. I mean, really they were all great um back then. Even some of the more obscure ones. I mean, they all had, you know, uh, you could get, uh, um, you could all, I mean, if you factory, or you could get these racing, like sometimes if you knew the right codes when you're ordering one from the factory, you could get the racing engine or something crazy like that, or the Copy models, or whatever. It's like there's all sorts of crazy stuff you could have got back in the 60s. Now it's like it's not like you now they it's nothing like they have now. It's not the same. So basically, literally any of the old muscle cars would be fun, I think.
Okay. Yeah, my you mentioned Camaro. My father, he had an old '68 Camaro SS, and that thing, like when my dad had it, it was really beautiful. It was black on black, convertible, really really nice car. He ended up selling it to my grandfather, and he turned it into a show car. So now it's a bright candy apple red, black racing stripes, red leather interior with black trim, and whew, it's a beaut. But let's see. Think I think that's about the end of the first segment. So let me cut through the comments here to see if we can find any questions for you there, Looney Farm Guy. Let's just do a quick.
I see Will's asking if I like Lord of the Rings. I do kind of like it. I watched all of them. A bunch of weird quotes from it.
It's definitely a good series, but you've got to dedicate so much time to watch them. Oh man, it's like what the original three was, what, 9 hours or so, probably even more.
Yeah, it's yeah.
They're good movies, but let's see. I don't see any other questions outside of that one, so yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. The next segment is called The Meat and Potatoes, emphasis on potatoes. This is where we get to know you more for your content and what you do in regards to creation. So I think we'll be able to kind of infer um, a little bit of meaning into this. Well, we'll be able to infer how this will go, but tell us a story about your username.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Um, so back with one of the shops I used to work at, had a lot of lot of old guys from not this country. So love them all. It's just one was from Poland, one guy was from Jamaica, and they were on it. They're all older than me, and they couldn't really pronounce my name really all that well. So it ended up with Looney. That was my nickname, and it just kind of stuck from there. So when I was making up um, when I first got online gaming and stuff like that with PlayStation, or I think it was P no, I think it was Xbox. I actually started with Xbox 360 when I went really started playing online a lot. And of course, they want to add there. You have to make up a name to gamer tag, right? So it's like, well, so okay, I have to think of okay, Looney sounds pretty good. What do I do? Well, I like cars. Looney Car Guy was my original gamer tag. So when I started when I was started going to start this channel, um, I was going to use that, but then my daughter says, "Well, you can't use that. That's it doesn't make you gotta if it's a farming channel, you gotta do something farming." It's like Looney Farm Guy, then why not? So that's where it start. That's the origin story.
Well, and I just presume because looking over your shoulder there, we see Marvin the Martian and Canine behind you there. Uh, just presumed that had something to do with that, but it's got a much deeper meaning behind it. So that's actually
It, it,
really good
it
to
does,
know.
but it doesn't mean I don't love. I mean, I got these long before. I probably got those 15, 20, well, about probably 15 years ago. When I went to the fam went to Universal Studios in California, and it's like I had my pick of characters, and those are the ones I picked. So I've been a long time fan of Marvin the Martian. So
Yeah, absolutely. Looney Tunes is something I grew up with, so I understand and share that love of it. Um, so with your channel, you mentioned how well we mentioned together that you do things such as the mod reviews, and you'd made mention of Let's Play series. What kind of content do you do besides the modding that I think a vast majority of us are the most familiar with? Because I would believe that would take up the vast majority of your channel.
right, so the mod testing and review thing was really the main or became the main focus of my channel pretty early on. I dabbled. I seen so everybody's seen Mr. Sealy P's mod videos. He goes through he has it all in one video. He goes through the videos of the day. I haven't seen him today. I'm kind of worried. I wonder if he got a stroke or something, looking at how many mods there were today. But um, so that was that kind of became the main focus. But the I do throw in some let's play and stuff just to throw a little bit of something else in there when there's not a whole lot of mod stuff going on. I've done a fair bit of like tutorial stuff, like you would see, how to plow a field or how to the basic, mostly I did a lot of the basic introductory type for beginner type tutorials where someone who's never played the game. I mentioned before we started, mentioned my sister tried playing it once. She didn't like it because she didn't know what to do. It's like, okay, well, maybe you're not alone. Maybe there's other people that started playing this, but didn't really know what was going on, didn't know how to do things. What am I supposed to do? I have, do you cultivate? How do I plant stuff? Well, you might have to cultivate it if things like that. So, um, and then as a side thing, when I get during the summer or whatever, I do actually have a few like let's say live videos, um, um, how to change a wiper blade on a car or change a ball joint, and I do dabble. I fix my own vehicles, so I enjoy doing it. And sometimes I'll make a video of of a vehicle repair or something else I'm working on. So there's a little bit of that just for something a little bit different. But yeah, the main focus is the mods. That's kind of really my bread and butter. That's what kind of really drives the channel. So I try to make sure that part of it's looked after first, and then the other things kind of get fit in the spaces in between.
Gotcha. And do you like to play any games outside of Farming Simulator?
Yeah, I actually I've always been into car racing, and pretty much ever since I first played Gran Turismo on the PS1, I was hooked. I was hooked on the racing thing, and pretty much the Gran Turismo gaming series has been pretty much the best one for me. I played a little Forza back when I had a 360, but yeah, so racing games. I do like the Formula One stuff. I'm a big Formula One fan, actually. I like watching all those races. So not so much NASCAR. But I do see. Side note: I remember when they actually used the real cars that you could buy at the dealership racing around the track in NASCAR. Now that was stock car racing. The stuff they do now, I couldn't care less really for, because I mean that was back in Richard Petty was racing around with his big cowboy hat and his Dodge. It's like you could recognize cars. It's like, yeah, that's a Dodge, that's a Chevy, that's Ford. They had actually Ford engines and Dodge engines in them.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Well, that's the
yeah.
thing
Anyway.
about like modern NASCAR nowadays is essentially the cars are all the same. They just have a different badge on them. They're all aesthetically pretty much the same vehicle. There might be like small, decal difference here and there, but it's all down to the person inside the car because it's like I said, they're all pretty much the same. Um, let's see. And when did you start playing Farming Simulator?
Oh yeah. So like many of us that either play or content creators, for me it was back when FarmSim 19 was in the middle of its run. I was on PlayStation and PlayStation Plus, and it came up as the monthly free game. So I seen it and I just downloaded it, but didn't really look at it right away. So one day I got bored and fired it up, and it kind of really intrigued me. It was just like this is really like it's so different than the other games I was playing. It was like uh, kind of uh, kind of brought me back to my kind of roots. Not that I grew up in the city, but my parents grew up on the farm, and I was sort of connected to the farming life in a way. Um, so it just kind of it's like, hey, this is kind of relaxing. It's it's yeah. And actually, as a kid, I loved cutting the grass. It was weird. If we were visiting someone, it's like I would ask them, "Can I cut your grass for you?" It was nothing I enjoyed more than firing up a mower and cutting the grass. And then went to my uncle's place. He had a riding mower, so I'd be on that thing right away. Um, so yeah, it just kind of it just I felt a connection with it, and yeah, I haven't looked back since.
So see, it sounds like your love of just motors in general started very, very early. So it seems like it's very easy to translate and follow that path. Starting with the mowers and the engines they're in, going up to the cars and so on and so forth until you got into the shops, and it definitely seems like a very kind of linear progression from there. So you started playing in the middle of FS19. when did you start creating content for Farming Simulator?
So that was closer to probably the last year of Farm Sim 19. Um, I started a Let's Play series. It's still up actually. Um, I probably recorded a dozen episodes and saved them on and saved them on a USB stick. I didn't quite yet know um, how to put them on, how to do the whole YouTube or post them or anything like that. I was still very new to the whole YouTube thing and how it all worked. And so eventually got two episodes up, and by that time I had kind of transitioned into other things a little bit, but um, yeah, it started off just experimenting, really, kind of trying to find. You see other content creators and you see what they're doing. It's like, okay, that's kind of neat. So you try a little bit of that, and you see if you like it, and you try something else. And I tried. I started off trying to do some mod reviews, kind of like Mr. Sealy P. But I wanted to incorporate a little bit more of like using the mods on a farm rather than just showing them. So I kind of started out um, uh, in with the daily mods on 19. I bring them on a farm. I kind of do some work on the farm with them, I think it kind of evolved into to the point where at some point I asked basically asked myself, it's like, okay, what um I need to, like, it's I don't want to be copying, I don't want to copy someone else, because you're just trying to with YouTube. I think um well, for the number one, you have to enjoy what you're doing, because otherwise it's not going to last, right? I mean, if you don't like what you're doing, you lose motivation. So it has to be something I enjoyed. It had to be something that was a little bit different than everybody else, but not so different that it would be out in left field. Um, so I asked myself, well, what do I want? What do I look for? What would I look for if I was looking for something about the game? And I finally fell upon, well, what if I want to find out about one particular mod? How would I find that? Well, there's lots of people that do mod reviews, but a lot of time they're in a big large video, and you have to kind of search through the video to find out, or the odd time someone will do a review on a particular mod. But so at that point I kind of decided, well, I'm going to do one on every single mod by itself in a single video, so that if someone wants to find that particular mod, how it works, or if it works, they can. And that's pretty much how what brought me to where I am today.
Yeah, and I personally am grateful for your style of doing the mod reviews, because I'm certain that how you do them is dramatically more time consuming. Pardon me. um, because you're having to go through and either one of two things, I would imagine. You're either going through, loading up that mod into a map, and then doing your thing with your review, recording it, testing it, doing all that stuff, and then backing out, coming back in with the next mod, and so on and so forth. And recording each of your individual slots while bouncing back and forth in and out of the actual game to find it, or you're just loading them all in at once, and then you're just kind of hyper focused on one mod or the other during that recording session. uh, One, which kind of style, what kind of method do you use? Do you kind of load everything in at once and then just kind of record this segment, then record the next one while still in the same game save, or are you just going in, recording, coming out, loading the next one, and so on and so forth, like one at a time kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So usually my routine is in the mornings, wait for the mods to drop. That's pretty much what everybody does. And then once they do, so usually they drop on the Giants web mod page first, and then there's usually a bit of a delay before it hits the console mod hub. Could be, you know, could be 5, 10, 20 minutes, depending. But anyways, once it hits the once it hits PlayStation Mod Hub, I'll load basically download all the mods that came out. Once that's done, then my process is usually one at a time. So yes, I'll bring one into a map, test it, go through the paces, record the video, back out, edit it, put it all together onto a USB, plug it in, put it on YouTube, put the information in there, put a link. I put a link to the to each mod on the Giants mod hub. Now that's not always so useful for console players because console players get all their mods off of YouTube, but there is quite a number of PC players that do watch my videos. And at first I wasn't doing that, and I was always getting asked for the link to the mod. So I eventually just decided, okay, I'll just put a link to the mod on every video so that if you want to see it on the mod hub, you just click it. It brings you right to the mod on the Giants mod hub. I do, however, sometimes group them together if they're say a bunch of sheds. And there's like 4 or 5 shed mods. They're pretty easy. There's not really much to them. Basically, you just place them down. You take a look at them, see if there's any lights in them or whatever, and so I could do a bunch of those together, and that does save some time. And then I'll just yeah, pull them all out and kind of edit and post them kind of all at once. Well, closer together than if I would have to do them separately. So sometimes I group them together if they're simple, or if they're kind of very small or kind of not much to them. So yeah, depending on the mod, I guess is what. Yeah.
Okay. So So, one kind of overarching theme that I keep hearing, and I've been lucky enough to talk to several content creators over the lifetime of this series so far. And one kind of, running theme that keeps going on is they tell me that they don't get a lot of time to actually play the game because they're so busy with creating their content and doing their stuff that by the time it comes time to be able to actually play the game themselves, either they're burned out or they just there's not enough time in the day at the end of the day. Do you have that kind of same thing to where because you're producing so many different videos, so much content, like today, perfect example where we had over 80 mods drop, um, do you get a lot of time to actually play the game, or are you spending most of your time making content?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't. Sometimes I don't get a lot of time to play the game, and if even if I do find have a little bit of time, I kind of burnt out on it, like you said. So if I was gonna play something, I would find a different game to play just kind of get you separate yourself from it, get away from it a little bit because you don't want to. You know, that is kind of the real risk of doing that is because you could very easily get oversaturated with it and then get become like you know be repelled by it at some point. So it's kind of a really fine line where yeah. So it depends on how much if I mean if you get the break like we did during the end of the year there, the Giants took their break, then it kind of gives you a break to kind of go back in and just kind of enjoy the game. And sometimes, usually if I go into a play, I feel almost feel obligated to record myself playing because I don't do a lot of let's plays really. And it's like, well, I should record this so, because I know the viewers enjoy watching watching people play the game too. So, but sometimes it's just like, you know what? I just, if I'm gonna play it, sometimes I just do a bunch of stuff on whatever map I was, and then next time I come back in there, I just say, "Hey, I did a bunch of stuff, and this is what it's like now." So I still do try to play. I, I don't want to play it just because I feel I should play it, but uh, I want to be able to play it because I want to play it. Is that if that makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense or not. So yeah, because sometimes I spend well today I've spent all day doing mods. I'll probably be still doing mods from today on Monday, depending on how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a hazard of the of what you do, really. Like there's a saying, um, the worst cared car, the worst the cars that are worst cared for are the ones owned by a mechanic because they work on cars all day, and when they get home, they don't want to work on their own car or fix it because they've been doing it all day. That kind of thing, I think it's very I think it relates a lot to a lot of things actually, but definitely to creating content. When you are creating content for a particular game, it can get pretty intense.
Oh, absolutely, and especially depending on how you are as an individual, um, you can get into these whole self-imposed deadlines that you want to meet. Like, oh, I want to post this by X time, and you're sitting there like forcing yourself and whatnot. It's so easy to get burned out. So, no, I completely understand what you're saying. Um, excuse me. So what would be your favorite mod type to review? Would it be, say, tractors, placeables, or factories? What would be your favorite one to be like, oh, hey, that kind of thing came out and I'm interested in reviewing that?
I like it's not a particular it's not for me it's not whether it's a tractor or for me it's something is there something really different about this like um there's some modders that when they come out with something it's not going to be just a tractor that's like the real one. I'm more what I'm more interested in the unrealistic ones because I think a lot more uh, imagination goes into some of these mods that aren't real. Because and not to, I'm not and that, it's not to say that the Massey Ferguson mods that look and work just like the real thing. There's not that there's not a lot of work goes into it. I know that any mod takes a lot of work, but what I'm saying is like Ridiculous Dominic, for instance. The stuff he comes up with or the things he does are like now that's interesting to me because it's something that maybe it does something you wouldn't expect. And so those are a lot of times I'll find something um, that you didn't expect about a mod. Like it'll do something that's like, oh, I didn't know it would do that. Or some of these factories are sometimes interesting about how fast they work, or like it could be anything really. Those are the ones that like um yeah make my eyebrows go up.
And what would you say would be your least favorite type of mod to review?
Probably probably stuff. Well, decorations are pretty kind of mundane. It's like they don't do anything. It's like, and not to say someone wouldn't like to use them, because I know our friend Rusty there, he loves creating farms and creating landscapes and scenarios, and a lot of these guys that like to do role play stuff and create stories. I'm sure a lot of these kind of decoration stuff fit in there quite nicely. So it just to review or test something like that is not it's not all that exciting. Um, and and many some of you may know, but I'm not too fond of the logging thing. So that's really kind of I do try my best, but it's not in my heart. So it gets a little bit it gets tough doing some of the I think that's probably the toughest part is when it's like you have something and it's not something you really like doing, but
Hmm.
it's like, well, you got to give it your best shot. You got to, and someone out there likes it, and the person who made the mod obviously put a lot of work into it. So I feel obligated that to do my best to present the mod as as the creator, hopefully as the creator intended to be used, or maybe find a way to use it that he didn't intend to. That's sometimes fun.
So what you're saying is that the excavator attachment that we got earlier today, that was the one that you liked the least.
So far, yeah.
I mean, I can't say as I blame you. I'm not a huge fan of doing the woodworking. It's kind of the nature of the beast to do it, especially when you're first starting out because you got pretty much nothing to do during winter. So you come up with those creative methods to be able to survive. But what is one of the things that has happened during your tenure on YouTube that you just never expected? Whether it was finding a sense of community or unexpected backlash. Like what's something that has happened that you didn't expect when you first created your channel?
Yeah, that's a good question. A couple of things. Um, so to be honest, when I first started out, I started out really as the viewpoint of a player, and I tended to be a bit, I'm gonna say, overcritical of some of the mods, I guess, because I really didn't have a good idea of the other side of so the mod makers. I didn't really have a good grasp or maybe appreciated um, what went into making these mods and the challenges they have creating these things and putting them onto, especially onto console, because none of the makers, anyone who makes a mod cannot test on a console. So they test it through PC, it goes to Giants, it passes their blah blah blah, and then it comes onto console. And sometimes it doesn't always work the same, and it happens quite a lot actually. And I don't think I really appreciated that, so I tended to be a bit more critical of mods, and inevitably you're going to get a little bit of backlash from the modders if if you're a little bit too harsh, shall we say. So so that was something well more of an eye opener for me, something I didn't really expect. But it did teach me some lessons, and the other thing that kind of happened was it actually kind of um, well, so you can say a silver lining to the whole situation was it gave me some exposure, which wasn't the way I wished it had, but it did, and it actually connected me with a little bit more with Giants. They helped me out in the situation, which I'm very grateful for. And I also got connected with DJ Goham actually. So by chance, it just kind of it connected us. And not that I'm a It's just it's nice to it widened my scope in the community with some of the other people that I may not have been connected with initially. So um yeah, I guess that's and I not to want to harp on, DJ, but he is kind of pretty much the the biggest one of the biggest North American farming simulator, I guess I could say, creators. So I mean, he's pretty, I would say, respected. I would think, more or less. So um, he has been helpful with to me. So I appreciate his help too, and everyone else, of course.
Well, that's awesome. It's really cool to start that whole networking process and being able to reach out to a lot of these different creators. That was one of the things that I never expected when I started my channel, was that kind of sense of community that was being formed around me. Just didn't expect it. It just kind of popped out of nowhere in my mind. Um,
Oh, just one. Sorry if I could add something.
of course.
um, the other side of it was I have uh, the modding side of the community. I've started growing that network, as you would say, and so uh, especially through Discord, it seems that Discord is a little bit more. We had some, like, I would connect with some of the modders. They would comment on the video, and we would um, kind of go back and forth a little bit. But I found that connecting on kind of more of a private level with some of the modders, we can kind of more openly discuss various aspects of how things work, or how um, so it gives them a little bit of feedback on uh, on how things work, or how things are working in the game in a private setting where it's not like public, like on a comment on a video or something like that. Sometimes it's a little bit, well, sometimes you don't feel as free to comment about something. But when you have more private conversations, and I've been able to connect with a number of modders, which is nice, and I'm always very grateful for their insight, and I've been able to kind of um, give them the player's side of the story, or how is this being used, or how does this work within the game environment, especially on console, because as I said, things don't always work the same on console. And a little bit, I have my personal preferences and my little pet peeves, so sometimes I express those. I don't expect The one thing I don't expect is a modder to do something or make something just because I want it a certain way. It's just like, this is I always kind of say, this is my preference, or this is what I'd like to see. But I mean, the creators are always the one that they have the ownership of the mod and how they want it to work. So I've got to know the preferences of various modders too, what their vision is, and and if they and how that interacts with what players are looking for. So it's a really interesting interaction. I think I've enjoyed that part of it um, the most. I think is interacting with the modders and what their process is, their challenges, their some of the modders I've got to know have dropped out of making mods for various reasons, and so they have a lot of roadblocks and challenges that maybe none of us really hear about or don't even know about, just to get mods onto the game themselves. So yeah, that's been a it's been a really interesting time.
And I could imagine that being in the position that you are, doing the style of content that you do, having those relationships with the modders is very powerful, because not only does it give you the ability to be able to converse with them, like you were saying, but it also gives you the ability to kind of get into their headspace when talking about their mods. So you're able to kind of better relay either not even necessarily intent, but just the kind of the framework that is, well, yeah, I guess intended for the mods that you are reviewing. So it's, I could imagine that being a very powerful thing, especially if you're able to communicate with them even before you're putting your content out. Um, Now, do you find it common where you're able to either, like, let's say you're doing your review and an issue comes up, you find something's not working as it's expected to, pardon me, or it is just not working at all. Have you ever gone to a modder and say, hey, I'm running into this, is this something that's expected, or am I doing it wrong? Like, has there ever been that line of communication where you're actually like proactively trying to get in contact with them?
Yeah, so yeah, actually that does happen. Um, I mean, fairly, I wouldn't say, well, I don't say fairly often compared to what, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, it does happen on a fairly regular basis, depending on the modder, of course, and if I have a rapport with them. Some of them I have more of a I say open rapport. That some others are a little bit less. It all depends on each modder. So, but yes, I have in the past trying something out. It's like, oh, like it's not working. So I'd like, and it's, again, Discord's great because a lot of the modders are fairly active on Discord. I can fire up PM and say, hey, whatever the issue is, and hopefully get a response fairly quickly, and then either figure out that it's something I was doing wrong, or it's actually there's a problem with the mod itself, and then I usually do try to, if I have a contact, if I do find something, I'll kind of I'll make the video anyways, because if there's something wrong with the mod, um, I think people should know about it, because if they're loaded up and then they're having a problem and they want to know if it's something they're doing or if there's something wrong with the mod or something wrong, they can kind of reference the video and say, okay, yeah, you're having the same problem as I am. Okay, there's an issue with the mod. Uh, and a lot of times I'll even put in the comments like, hey, the modder knows about this. They're working on an update already for it. So kind of information like that I like to put in there if I have it. Sometimes I don't always have it. Some modders don't watch my videos, or they don't comment, or I've never made a connection, so I don't have that. But a lot of I'm slowly building a network. So I, as much as possible, I would love to have that connection where I can reach out to a modder and say, hey, I'm having this problem with this mod, and I just want to know if it's something they can look at, or they can watch the video after. It's like, okay, I got a video. This is what's happening. Can you watch it? And is it something I'm doing wrong, or is it? Can you see? Is it something because of, like we said, coming to console, things change. So yeah, starting to happen a little bit more and more the more I do it. So I actually I really like that, because I really do want to work with the modders, because it's for the better of the game, right? It's for better for the players. It's better for the modder if he actually knows what's going on, and either fix it, or for the next one he's working on or whatever. It's a learning process for all of us, I think, especially with the new game now too. Things are working a little bit differently. Some things that worked in 22 don't work in 25. Some things that didn't work in 22 work in 25. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So I think the more we collaborate and support each other, rather than being critical of like, oh, you didn't do this right, or you know, being a positive, looking for positive, upbuilding, collaborative stuff, I think is much better for the community. And I do believe that being part of this farming sim community is mostly that. I feel much more than other communities I've been involved with. This is actually the most um, uh, cooperative one I've ever been in.
100% agree with you. Yeah, the level of community that's a part of Farming Simulator is I've never experienced it. Is, in my opinion, unmatched by any other that I've ever been a part of, and it's almost overwhelming. The level at which people are so willing to connect with you and help out or do whatever. Um, it's really really cool to be a part of. Now, excluding days like today, where we got over 80 mods today, walk us through like your
Ralph
normal
Fanning
day
Jonah
in
donated
which you would do
$1.99
your
through
mod
Super Chat.
reviews and doing all that
What's
stuff.
up, Doc?
How much time do you take on average from like start to finish kind of thing? Like walk us through the amount of time you spend in a single day.
Yeah, well, it really does really depend on how many mods come out on that particular day. But I mean, and you never know really. And we have no idea anymore really. We don't get a testing list. But anyways, aside from that, say for you get 10 mods, it depends on what kind of mods too. If you get like a cultivator, it's pretty basic stuff. You hook it up, you see if it has any attachments or whatever. You test it out a little bit. You might put a worker on it to see if he likes it or not. So I mean, maybe 5-10 minutes testing mod, maybe 5 or 10 minutes making a video, loading it up onto editing it and putting it onto a so I use Share Factory on PlayStation. It's pretty good. It's good enough for what I do because I do a lot of really short videos. So I know a lot of people said, why don't you do that on use a computer editing program or something? It works for me. So it's the most so you'd say time efficient thing for me to anyways because of the way I do them. But anyways, I put it onto a USB, plug it into the my computer. I use a Mac, so it's easy. And then and load it onto YouTube. So that could probably sometimes it all kind of takes a little bit of time transferring and loading and then things like that, and then going back into the game, putting the next one in. So something more complicated like a factory where you have a bunch of different productions and maybe there's a factory pack where there's like a flour factory and a sawmill and something. I mean, it kind of there's some of these mods that have like 5-10 things in them, or an equipment pack where it has cultivators and plows and seeders, and like some of them can get pretty out of hand. One I didn't even do a while back, that was that BGA modular BGA or something like that. I looked at that thing. It's like I didn't spend a week on this thing. It was ridiculous. I just like so I, at some point there is a limit to what to what I'll tackle. Or I think I just actually did a brief overview. I didn't actually go in and test everything. So it's like, hey, I think Mr. Seeley P did a video on it. I feel for him because that was just some of them are so complex. You just kind of yeah. Um, as for how much time, um, on a short day, I could probably be done by noon. depending on when they drop too. They sometimes my local time they drop around 10 o'clock. So that's kind of um, your day's kind of started already. Sometimes they drop early, sometimes they drop late. It's kind of really a crapshoot. Um, a lot of days I'll be doing them till supper time, with a little break for lunch. There's been a lot of days where I'll work into the evening a little bit, but at some point I don't. I've never done an all-nighter. I don't believe in that. I mean, it's not for me. It's not worth it. So if it carries over to the next day, so be it. Um, you kind of have to, like we were talking about, you kind of have to set limits. So you just say work-life balance. Like sometimes there is a lot going on, and you kind of want to get everything done that you want to get done, but at some point it's like you gotta take time for yourself and for your family and take a break. And I think most people understand that. Um, I mean, it is what it is. Like a day like today, I'm not going to get them all done, so they'll just carry over the next day or the next day, and eventually it'll get out there. So it is what it is. It's just me. I don't have a team of testers and editors and stuff. I know some of the. I don't even think some of the big YouTubers do. Um, So I mean, I guess they have to get at some point, but yeah, it is what it is. I try. Well, I don't want to. Yeah, you still have to like enjoy what you do. So at some point, you gotta draw a line somewhere and say, um, yeah, I guess that's about it.
So you stated before that you started playing in FS19 where you were kind of cutting your teeth and learning how to play the game. When you were playing, what would you say was your favorite map from FS19?
Oh, I always remember what was it called? Kiwi Farms, I think, or something like that.
Oh, by
Um,
oh, the map
was it
maker's name is
Tasman or something like that?
I
Yeah,
know
that
which one
was
you're talking about off. Yeah, yeah.
and for me it's always like the extra crops or something different. And that thing had like everything. It had like the most the most variety of crops you could find on a map. I mean, even since then, I don't think there's been anything that's had that many different kinds of crops. It even had coffee where you could harvest it with a regular uh, combine harvester. It was really something interesting. And so when he actually put out I think he put out a map um, in Farm Sim 22, but it wasn't just wasn't the same. I think because the difficulty to put in extra crops was just so much more difficult in Farm Sim 22 for some reason. Um, I don't. He just didn't make any more maps out. But he was pretty prolific in Farm Sim 19. He had quite a few maps out. But that's the one that kind of sticks in my brain, anyways. It was one of the last ones I played on too. So,
And what about in 22? What would you consider your favorite map?
uh, so for me, I gravitated more towards the large open maps. No, I hate fences. Don't like fences. Uh, if it has fences and I can't get rid of them, I pretty much wouldn't play on it. Although I have tried. I've tried. I did play on a few just to try it. But my preference is big open fields. At the time for Farm Sim 22, um, square fields were the best for workers. I always like using workers, having workers doing this and that, and me doing something else. And so I'm a big worker use of workers. I use them a lot. But square fields definitely a must. Otherwise, if they're odd shaped fields on there, it's just like the workers are going to make a mess of it, and you'd have to spend more time trying to fix it than than if you did it yourself. So, having said that, The one that comes to mind is Four Fields by Omatana. That was that and Fox Farms. I played a lot of. I actually ended up making the Fox Farms one of my test maps because of just how it was laid out. That was another one I spent a fair bit of time on, just because of the nice even fields. They were square. It had some extra crops on there. That was interesting, and it was just easy to play on. It had lots of room, so it wasn't you weren't fighting for space on it, I guess.
I gotcha. So, if you could bring one map back from either 19 or 22 and make it into 25, what map would it be? And
um,
you can even put in the caveat of as you remember it exactly from those iterations.
right. So, something I've been kind of, maybe complaining or crying about was having a proper test map. And I remember in Farm Sim 19, I can't remember who brought it out, but they released a test map, and basically the store was right in the middle, and it had even shaped fields all around and various property was cultivated. They had a field that was cultivated. There was a little area where there's some forest like trees. It was like basically the map was set up that you could bring something on there and just test out a piece of equipment if you wanted to uh, to use it. I don't know if it came out probably, yeah, it wasn't one of the first maps. It was a little bit later on, but it's like it was just set up. I did a little bit of I did a few things to it, but it was like it had yeah, it was just set up so nice. It was perfectly flat, so you could lay down stuff. Actually, the map I like from 22 was the Alien Gyms rock crawl. If you probably watched any of my review videos. Now that one I like too because it has a really nice flat area on one end. Not so much for farming, but for placeables and stuff. So you could place down. You get some of these uh, factories or built or cow barns that are massive, and if you don't have a nice big flat space, it just really messes up the terrain so much. It's like crazy. But it did have like those those hills on the other side of the map where I would test like trucks and have them pull a load of rocks up those hills and kind of really test it out. It was a really great test map actually. So either one of those would be great.
So what's funny is that I've asked this question to several creators so far, and you always hear like, oh, if I had my way, I'd bring back Lone Oak, or I'd do this that like Somerset Farms, or insert any brilliant map from years past, and it makes sense. They tend to do either the more let's play kind of styles or the kind of creative kind of content per se. And when I asked that question, I guess I was just anticipating something along those lines. But as soon as you said it, the test map the test map that you're talking about, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know which one you're talking about. And then the Rock Crawl by Alien Jim, it made a whole world of sense. Like it just immediately clicked, and it's like, okay, for somebody like yourself who's so wrapped into this mod review and mod presentation world, it makes the world of sense that those would be the ones that you would be most gravitating towards. So that I appreciate that answer because that really makes a lot of sense. So,
Anything to make my life easier is really what I'm wishing. Like the new game comes out, it's like I need a buy anything silo. I need some trailers that'll hold everything and lots of it. I need I need what else? I need a map that has a really nice flat area to do stuff. I need an auto load pallet trailer. Yeah, I have a lot of wants.
well, see, you got the ear of several modders and stuff out there. I think might be time to start putting some ideas into our heads.
I do. So actually today, the first video put out was that multi-fruit silo from Anthony's.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Actually, we've been corresponding for a little while now, and the whole fast unload part of it was pretty much like, you know, hey, why don't you do something like this maybe? And so I can't take 100% credit, but I did put in a little request, and I think it's going over well.
Absolutely. So we're only a few months into FS25, and from your perspective, you're going to look at things quite differently than, say, the average player or content creator because of the specific nature of what you do. So, because of that, I ask this question to everyone that I can to kind of get their perspective of it. But from your perspective, what feature from FS25 before it was released were you the most excited to see?
Oh, the whole kind of I call it course play. It's not really course play, but it's like um, the steering assist and the AI's workers like doing what they do now. Like I really didn't have much of an idea, but that really seemed like a huge leap from what we had in 22. So that was something I was really very curious about how it would actually work. I'm actually quite pleased about how it works. There's a few little well, tweaks that could make it a little bit better, but it's their first kind of, when it's the first time put into a game, there's always, a little bit of a rough edge around anything, I think. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, the GPS was absolutely revolutionary for us console players. Being able to just set up our workers to be more functional is a game changer. Now, what was one of the features that you were very excited about but soured on after actually getting a hold of the game and playing it?
um,
So maybe a better way to ask this is what feature were you excited for but disappointed by after actually getting to interact with it?
probably the rice, although it's not like I was like all that after the whole grapes and olives fiasco from 22. Rice seems to be a big step up from that. So it's not like I was really. I guess maybe I was hoping it would be. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I just didn't know what to expect, and it was just like not that. It wasn't as fantastic or as ground like shattering as they were kind of playing it up to be, maybe a little bit. Not that it's bad or anything. It seems to work quite well. It's just meh.
So what is your opinion? So I kind of have a good and general understanding of what your opinion is regarding like rice. What's your opinion on the other new crops that we got, like the spinach, the green beans, and the peas? How do you feel about those?
Yeah, those are. I mean, I kind of after I tried them. I've tried them all out. For me, they kind of get all categorized with the root crops, like the carrots and the parsnips and the beets and the potatoes. It's a very plodding, slow process. The equipment you need is like ridiculously expensive and only good for one thing. So it's kind of like just more of the kind of that kind of thing, which is fine if you like that kind of thing. I guess it's kind of the same thing with logging. It's like it's there if that's what you like to do. There's all sorts of, yeah, you could go ahead and do it. So Yeah, it's for me it's kind of like all that kind of more or less that same genre of that style, I guess you could say, of that type of farming. It's not to say that anything new is going to be bad. I mean, I always say the more options, the better, because the more there's options, the more that there's something for someone that to do, or someone might like doing that or whatever. So it, not every shoe fits every person. So
Well, and that's one thing that I very often say is that this game is one of the best in my opinion because of how versatile it is to be able to appease to so many different playing styles. Whether it's, the fast farming, whether it's the realistic, whether it's you want to do potato harvesting or you just want to do, forestry. I mean, there's so many different styles that can be played that it's an amazing, amazing game. And I can't think of a single game off the top of my head where it's so universally customizable to that degree. Now, what would you say is one of your, not even one of your, what is your favorite thing to do on your farms?
I I'm more than happy to basically plant crops and go and harvest them. Corn, wheat, barley, um, yeah, the grain crops. I don't know why. I guess it goes back to my mowing, uh, mowing the grass. It's like it's kind of funny because that's the one thing I kind of enjoy the most is you plant it and then you come in and you grab your favorite harvester and you harvest it and then you go sell it and you do it all over again. It's just I don't know why it sounds so repetitive, but it's the thing I enjoy the most. And it's funny. When I was talking before, my sister trying out the game. She says like, "Oh, it's just like mowing the grass. I hate mowing the grass." So it's like for her, it's completely the opposite. It was just like a job she had to do, and for me, it was something enjoyable to do. It's just like, oh, let's go grab that combine and like harvest this crop and put it in a silo or sell it and then go and buy new equipment. It's like, oh, there's a new tractor that came out. I want to try this new whatever. It's all the equipment and yeah, fascinated by all the equipment.
So, what would you say would be your least favorite job? Would it be the forestry aspect of things, or?
It's a I mean it's a close tie with our close that and the root crop stuff. Yeah, the potatoes and the although although once we get the Colossus pack, that kind of really changes root crops totally. When you got something that you can yeah, well, which is obviously totally unreal, but at least it makes it, interesting. Like harvesting a potato. I've played a little bit of multiplayer. It was a while ago, so a friend of farm sim friend of mine, CBW. He hasn't been active much lately. He used to be a little bit more active, did some Let's Plays and multiplayer and on live stream and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it was him. I joined him once and he was doing a giant potato field, like harvesting, and it's like I think we must have spent 2 or 3 hours just on this one field harvesting potatoes. It's like it was dreadful. Not the company, but just that. Yeah, it just seems so. Yeah. Logging. Yeah. For me, the logging thing is that the trees are still pretty unstable, more or less. They just. Um, I don't think the game mechanics are really tuned to. I mean, it does okay. Then we got a lot of neat, really tree harvesters and stuff. So it's not like there's a lack of equipment or a lack of things associated with logging. There's all sorts of cool grapples, but I'm terrible with a crane. Like to try and pick up a log with one of those crane things, it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So I guess it just tends toward my level of ability for working that kind of equipment too, perhaps.
I gotcha. So, as a creator, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start in this field?
Um, just do what you have fun doing. Because if you're doing something for the wrong reasons, and I've heard this advice too. I mean, I do. There's a YouTube guy that actually does YouTube videos for people making YouTube videos. It's like a anyways. But he always says, just go ahead and press play or press record. Press record. Just you, like if you wait to the perfect time, you'll never do it. So if that's something you think you might want to do, just go ahead and start doing it. It's going to be awful. It's going to be terrible. The videos are going to be awful. Maybe no one will watch it. The first few videos I made, I think maybe got 1 or 2 views. I was like, if I got 20 views in a week, I was like ecstatic. It would be like it was. It's like, oh, somebody watched my video. I would get so excited. Um, but do what you like, do what you enjoy doing. Don't do something because someone else is having success at doing it. Because if you try to do that because you want to become famous or because you want to make a lot of money or whatever, and it's not because you enjoy doing it, you're not going to be successful. Or if you do become, you'll burn out fast. You won't be able to do it for any length of time, um, and you'll likely fail at some point. So find something you enjoy doing it. Will it work out or not? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But at the very least, you'll enjoy what you're doing, and that comes across in the video. If someone's, I'm sure you've probably seen it now and then. Someone does a video and it's like there's no life in it anymore. There's just nothing, just like it sounds like they're just reading a script and they're just like plodding through it. And I've done that too. I mean, there's been times where it's like, but right away you get a comment it's like, "Are you okay? Like you don't sound like yourself or whatever." People can really, you can really tell, and you don't think that, but people can tell if you really like doing what you're doing or if you're not having a good time. They can tell too. So basically, it is just do something you love doing, whether it's farm sim, maybe you like gardening, maybe you like fishing, maybe you enjoy making things with wood, whatever it is, whatever you enjoy doing, do videos about that. You like cooking? Do cooking videos, whatever. The point is enjoy what you do, and everything else will then like come with that.
Excellent advice. So, what has been the most memorable moment in your content creation career so far?
Oh, there's been a few, I think, depending on. So I mean, seeing a video do well is really kind of very personally memorable, anyways. And it's just seeing or um, it's kind of collective. Like when you see people commenting, like it's like, "Hey, this really video really helped me out. I didn't know how this really worked. I watched this. It kind of really helped me out to figure it out." Things like that. Also, when modders started commenting on, so the mod maker watches the video and I said, "Oh, okay, I really liked how you presented my mod." And sometimes it's like, "Oh, hey, you missed this." It's like, "Oh crap, I didn't realize I missed something." So that kind of interaction, just getting the feed. I think the feedback is really what what's the question again? What? Oh my.
So, what has been the most memorable moments that you've
Oh,
had while
memorable
making?
moment. Um, uh, I don't think it. I don't think there was any like really one. Well, aside from the bad ones, of course. But um, I don't think there's any light bulb type moment more than just like I was saying, just like cumulative uh, moments, kind of bringing you to a realization that it's not you're not only like I like helping people. Like I always try to, if someone has a problem, I'll try to help them out as much as I can. And knowing that you've helped someone with whatever it was is probably the most one of the most fulfilling things about it. I can't really think of any kind of one moment that was really. It's kind of a it's I never had that big. Well, I've had a few videos that kind of really be popular, but that's like you don't have that. You always hear about that viral video that makes you famous or whatever like that. For most people, they'll never experience that. It's going to be a gradual growth of your channel, and I think for me and for in general, I think that gradual process is what builds your rapport with your viewers. Um, they get to know you. You get to know get to know them. It builds a loyalty, a group of loyal viewers that keep coming back because they know 'cause they get to know you, what kind of content, what you bring. They can they know what to expect in a video. So I think that's more, yeah. So there not really any monumental moments. It's kind of been a slow build up, I think, more than anything.
I gotcha. So, what modder out there would you, when you're doing your reviews and you see, okay, a whole bunch of stuff just loaded on the mod hub, is there a modder that, like, when you see their mod come up, you're like, oh man, this modder's up, I'm excited about this one. Is there a modder out there where you're just more excited than anybody else?
Well, it goes both ways too sometimes, but yeah, there's a number of them. Most of them are the ones that I've gotten to. A lot of them are the ones I've gotten to know like more on a personal level over time. So I've built up a rapport or a communication with them. So when I see something, I'm excited for them. Someone like Gaming Joy or like I said, mentioned Anthes. Superfly 1482, I think was his name. In 22, he had quite a few mods. I had quite an interaction with him, so I kind of have they'll tell me it's like, hey, my mod is in testing or it's past testing. It might be coming up in the next couple of days, so I'll be looking for it. And it's like when I see it, it's like, oh, it's mods out. I'm kind of excited for them getting having their mod finally make the mod hub. So um and then there's others like I say, Ridiculous Dominic I mentioned before, or before we started the thing, because he's always got something really crazy with his mods. You never know what. So that's kind of different and exciting. Um yeah, so a lot of times I'm excited for the if I know the modder, I'm excited for them more than well, of course, to try it out. And sometimes I see a modder and I know that they love these complex, intricate mods that's going to take me hours to figure out. It's like, oh, so sometimes it's a little bit of dread, sometimes it's just excitement. So,
Okay, I gotcha. Uh, let's see. Uh, if you had the ability to create a mod, like you were the actual mod maker, and you were going out and you were going to make a map for the entire community, released on all platforms, and it was based on a real life location, where would it be?
oh, I would probably do a map of where the farm my dad grew up on, my uncle's farm right now. That's definitely probably it's a bit of an interesting area, southern. southern Manitoba. It's not quite right out in the prairie, kind of all flat. There's some creeks and there's some a little bit of so water running through. So you got trees and you got various. The soil's very sandy. As opposed to where I'm at, it's all like clay and gumbo, and it's like you stick something and it just sticks. It's very hard to work. So, yeah, probably something like that.
I,
Um, I know they're so in Farm Sim 22, actually talking about maps, there was a map maker that did a map um, not too far from there, based on a small town in southern Manitoba, and playing on that map totally made me feel like home. Like it was like this is familiar. This I feel like I've been here before, kind of thing. So just the way everything was laid out, just the way the roads, there was ditches, but not ditches that were too deep. It was kind of like gentle ditches, if you know what I mean. Something you could drive through if you had to. Kind of stuff like that. I mean, it just yeah. So something like that probably.
I gotcha, and I think that's a very appealing thing to a lot of people is being able to pull up the game and see something that's familiar to them. Being able to like, man, I kind of recognize that it might not be their home, it might not be like exactly where they're from, but there's some kind of feature that they kind of recognize, and it's just familiar to them. I think again, that's something that's also incredibly special about this game is that um, that we almost see ourselves reflected in it. Let's see. So I think that is it for this segment here. So now would be a good time to take some questions from the audience, see if anybody has kind of followed up with the questions. So let me do a quick scan here. Rail Fanning Jonah gifted a membership. Jonah, thank you so much, and went to Star Spangled Farms, and also gave a $1.99 super chat. Says, "What up, Doc?" Let's see. We got Dust Bunny pointed out that it was the Old Kiwi Farms for FS19 by Kaz64, also known as Old Aussie Gamer.
Yep, that's the one.
Let's see. Let me see if we got any more here. Uh, ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, I know there's a whole lot of there's a lot of the modders I talked to, they got a whole bunch of mods sitting and waiting to be tested. So lots of interesting stuff. Hopefully they pass. And if not, at least the retest is shorter.
Yeah, so that's definitely a really nice thing is that we might not know exactly what's in testing, or anything like that, but we can kind of start to gauge based on, the social medias of the modders and all that stuff. It's like, okay, well, this is just getting into testing. We can expect maybe to see it in about 20 odd days or so. And that if they reload it, then it's going to take like a week and all this kind of stuff. So you can kind of make some educated guesses as to when you're roughly going to start seeing things. Um, let's see. I thought I had a question here, but now I can't find it. Um, bu- 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 bu-
Looks
bu-
like Josh says he's looking into those features. Something about Josh is always gaming joy. He's always working on something interesting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing what he's got there. But yeah, I thought there was questions, but now I'm not seeing. But I do see a couple of redacted messages, so it's possible they got redacted. If you got any questions for Looney, go ahead and put them in the chat. Let me know so I can have them at the most recent messages. But we are going to go into the third and final segment, and it's called "That's a Silage Wrap." So was looking for some questions. I didn't see any off the top of my head. Um, do you have any future plans or projects that you're going to be working on? Anything new for the channel, maybe?
Um, so I've had the membership thing up for a little while, but um, just yeah, I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what kind of member content I can put out there because I do have a few loyal members, not many, which I don't really push it. I don't really like to me it feels like I'm asking people for money, and it's not really what I like to do. It's not it's not me. I so but I put it up there because I had people asking what they could do. So it was kind of like the easiest thing to have there, and not really. So I hardly ever mention. I don't like pushing it, but it's there for those who want to contribute in some ways. So but I don't have a whole lot of members only content because pretty much what I do is really meant for the whole community. So it's a real like most of the stuff that I would do is something that I would feel that everybody should benefit from, but yet I'd still want to do something special for members. So I'm kind of really, I don't know if I have anything planned. I'm really struggling with finding something that would be good and not just like a crappy video. Hi, how you doing? Like, I don't want to make something just cheesy just to put something out. So, yeah, that's kind of been actually, I don't know if even a future project. Other than that, not a really uh anything new. I'm pretty much occupied with uh maxed out with trying to cover the best I can what I'm doing right now. So not really a whole lot of um not really a whole lot of room for any other projects. If I do something different, it'd be like outside. I have a little I have a playlist called Outside the Game, which I kind of throw in stuff that's not game related. It's like, working on a picnic table or doing a lot of odd stuff like that. So usually if I have a project that I'm doing anyways, I might make a video about it, but nothing really planned. If that's yeah, unfortunately, no big plans yet for the future, anyways.
So, one quick follow up. So, one like you mainly focus on mods and testing that. Have you ever considered branching out into like map tours or anything like that?
I did think I did consider it, um, but the amount of time it like to I don't want to just do it half, half pressed. Um, and there's other guys that do a way better job than I could possibly do. And to yeah, I don't think I'd be very good at it actually. It's yeah, and I don't want to do a bad deal of it because I don't think the maps. Obviously, a map is like probably the most complex thing that any modder could do. Just all the everything involved in making a map is just it's beyond me that how they do it anyways. But I mean, aside from even the simple ones, I think we were talking last time anyways about the what was that map? I can't remember names of maps either. The first mod map we got, the Wilder, was it
Oh,
Olaf
New Frontier.
New Frontier? Yeah, but even that, I mean, you mentioned that you can get stuck in the mud if it's raining or something like that, and Like, yeah, stuff like that I would miss. So, um, yeah, Mr. CLP and my a lot of us know Farm Sim Snowy. He does map tours, and those guys do a fantastic job. I don't think I could approach the level at which the time and their experience. I mean, yeah, I've been asked before. It's just I don't. I get overwhelmed, I think, by the vastness of some of these maps and all just the little corners and things that I would probably spend way too much time on. It would be like a two. I would have to break it up into two 1 hours videos or something because I just wouldn't want to miss anything. So, but yeah.
Which it makes sense based on the videos I've seen of yours. You do seem to be very thorough in the amount of testing that you go through. So it would naturally seem to translate that you would do the same thing when it came to any kind of map tour or anything like that. So uh, it would be a real, I guess the best word I can think of is slog for that, because you'd be wanting to check every nook and cranny to make sure that you weren't missing something. So, yeah, I can completely understand what you're saying there. So I did find
What
that
what I
question. Oh, I'm
oh
sorry. Go ahead.
so what no what I have done in the past though is if there was a map that looked kind of interesting, I would do like a short let's play on it. So kind of like a map tour, but I would like let's try all the different crops and let's see let's try out the different sell points, and so kind of in the vein of a map tour, but kind of more of like a let's play showcase, test out the workers on the fields and sort of thing. So I kind of did a little bit of that if there was a map that I was interested in. So I guess it was my version of a map tour in a way, but just kind of done in a different way. So I have kind of done that in the past.
Okay. And I did find that question that I was hunting for. It's from Gaming Joy, and it says, "Question for Looney: Do you ever feel bad for finding an issue?"
Yeah, I do. Especially if like I said, like actually I think on with the Farm Sim 22, one of Gaming Joy's mods, I just happened. So he released his variable. I think it was I can't remember which one it was now, but it was a set of trailers. Um, I think it was just trailers that he increased the unload speed on, and I just happened to pick the one out of like the 10 of them that he forgot to change the. He would know. I think maybe he'll comment. He forgot to change unload speed on one of them, and that was the only one I really picked out to test, and it didn't work. It's just like, oh, and I knew it was like, and so I just like, yeah. So um, yeah, actually, I do feel bad when something doesn't work because um, it's a negative, right? So I mean, sometimes it's kind of exciting because it's like, oh, I found something, but then it's like, oh, now no one's going to want to use it because this one particular thing is broken, especially like cow barns when or animal pens when something doesn't quite work out. It's like I actually do feel bad when something doesn't work because I realize that how much work was put into it, and now it's like, oh, there's something wrong with it. So it's kind of maybe with some people they won't even if there was an update with it, maybe people won't go back to it. So that's why sometimes if I know there's an update or the modder knows, I'll say, hey, the modder knows about this issue. He's working on to fix this particular problem. I'll let you know what the problem is. Now, this is what it is. So this is either maybe this is how you can avoid it, or whatever it is, a workaround. But the modder knows of the issue and he's working on a fix. So if at all possible, I always like to say that so that people can say, okay, well, when the update comes out, then then I'll they'll know that it's something. It's not just a modder putting something out and then not caring about it. So I want them to know. I want the viewers to know that the modders care about what happens to their mod once it's out there. So
Absolutely. So Star Spangled Farms asked, when did you start making content? So that was at the tail end of FS19, correct?
yeah, that was well about yeah, I can it's pretty much when I started my channel, which was let me see, give you a date. You can probably look it up. Do. So that was August 24th, 2021.
Okay. So yeah, that was right towards the tail end of 22.
Yeah, 19.
And then Ken Adlam asked, what did Looney think of Big Flats, Texas from FS22?
Oh, was that the one with the one big massive field?
So Big Flats, if I remember correctly, was there were several fields, but it was very much kind of like a Fox Farm style map where it's big, wide open fields. I think it only had like 6 or 8 fields on it, but they were just massive.
I think that was probably PC only.
No, that was all platforms.
Was it?
Hmm.
Huh. Sorry, I don't remember that one. Huh. Sorry.
Let's see. And he also asks, also, has he ever used the WSVS system on any open country maps?
Oh, that's that Nexon thing, I think, right?
Yeah, it's that tractor that will drive down the road, going one direction, kind of like I guess you'd say vertically down the road, and then once it gets the field, it can switch the driving direction that it goes and kind of goes in a horizontal direction. You can
Yeah,
use it for
goes
harvesting
sideways.
and yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it had all those different attachments you could put
correct.
on it. Um, have I used it in a game? I don't think I actually used it in a personal playthrough or on any map. It's really neat. It's an actual vehicle, so it's patterned. It's modeled after an actual piece of equipment. Like there's that thing is actually out there.
Hmm.
So it was really neat. I found it a bit awkward. Um, yeah, I not that it was bad or anything. I just never really gravitated toward it, I guess.
Okay.
I guess I'm more of a traditional equipment kind of guy in that respect, anyways.
Oh, you know what? That is a good question there. What kind of equipment do you prefer? Do you prefer like the latest and greatest or the old school kind of farm equipment?
I like I kind of like a mixture. Like it depends on it's kind of one of those depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Depending on the kind of map or whatever. I do like the big new ones, but I also have a kind of a fondness for some of the, especially so. I'm especially fond of the older versatile tractors, just because my dad used to work for at the versatile factory, and so growing up, it was like kind of around that kind of thing. My uncle had a versatile 550, so it's something very familiar to me, and it's just seeing those and kind of running those things where even the newer ones, I like it. So, but I do like the old little. I mean, not that I tend towards the big field type maps, so not don't get to use a lot of the little tiny vintage tractors that much, but I kind of like them. I really do like them too. So I just don't use them a whole lot. But so I guess it's a yes, a little bit of everything. I just like tractors and equipment. It's kind of like yeah, kind of like it all almost.
I gotcha. No, and again, based on what you've told us here tonight, all that makes sense. I mean, um, having the affinity for, working on automobiles and stuff like that, and, having the, you know, in your younger days, the wanting to go and mow the family's yards and riding on, I believe you said it was your uncle's riding lawnmower. Um, it makes sense that you'd be more of a kind of I guess the word is eclectic when it comes to the preference. So no, that
Yeah,
makes
he had a little old vintage Ford, little tiny Ford tractor, like a um, um, don't even know what model it was, but I've seen them around. But even got to use that, drive that around. They had a big garden, so he'd put the little cultivator on there, and I would cultivate the garden in spring for him, and driving this little Ford tractor around. So a little bit of that too. So yeah, fondness for some of those old vintage tractors.
so which again it really adds up as to why when you started playing Farming Simulator, why you kind of gravitated towards it because it does seem like you've got a connection to the farming aspect while at the same time being able to appreciate the kind of engineering and the power that's involved with the kind of mechanical aspect as well. So I mean there's so many different parts that feed into the the love that you have shown for this game. So it just a lot of these things are now starting to fill in and add up. So let's see. So that is it for the questions in the chat. I do not see any more. Can you once again tell us where we can find you?
Yeah, Looney Farm Guy on YouTube. It's just punch in Looney Farm Guy. It should come up on YouTube pretty quickly. I'm not on any other, yeah, not on any other platforms, so it's easy to find me on YouTube. Or actually, um, funny, I someone commented on a video. I said, "Oh, how do you go to my channel and search up?" It's like, no, I just Googled the name of the piece of equipment and your video came up. So I mean, even on Google, you punch in the name of or the mod name. So I title all my videos exactly as how the mod title appears. So the mod maker releases a mod, and it's he the mod name is I titled the video exactly the same as the mod name, so it's easy to find. It comes up right away, just to make it the most easy to reference. That's what I've kind of designed the videos for.
No, and that's exactly how I found you, and I'm sure there's many, many other people who have found you the same exact way. Is just doing a quick, Google search, YouTube search for a specific mod, and hey, there's Marvin just looking you right in the face with the straw hat. So it's like, let's click on this one. And sure enough, it's exactly what I need. It tells me exactly what I very often use your channel for is to determine whether or not I want to actually install the mod because as a console player, we're limited as to the amount of space that we can put onto our machines. We have X amount of space and we've got to discern whether or not we want to be able to install and use up that precious space for something that may not be worth it. And thanks to Looney, you're able to very quickly and easily search when you may or may not want to install a piece of equipment onto yours. So Looney, I want to thank you so very, very much for coming on to the show today and, kind of giving us a glimpse into your life, both personally and behind the scenes there professionally. So thank you so very, very much.
Oh, my pleasure, Dave. It It's good to chat about farm sim with anyone always, but especially someone as knowledgeable. And you had some really excellent questions, so got me thinking myself. So yeah, I hopefully everybody enjoyed themselves, and yeah, we'll do it again sometime.
Well, I know I had an absolute blast, and I hope you did too. Let's see. So that we're going to start wrapping this up. Again, thank everybody who came out here today, who hung out with us, who asked questions. Greatly appreciate every single one of you. If there is a creator out there that you would like me to sit down and have a chat with, whether they're a modder, map maker, a content creator like Looney is, go ahead and message me directly using any of my socials. They're on the screen, they're in the link in the description. Go ahead and just let me know who it is that you think I ought to try and get a hold of to interview. And yeah, I'd love to be able to bring people on here as much and as often as I possibly can. The only requirement I have is they have to be 18 years of age or older. I will not do an interview with somebody who is below that age for what I would presume would be very obvious reasons. But I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you did, please show me by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, commenting, doing all the things the algorithms enjoy you doing to show as you're engaged with this channel and enjoying the content. And that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Take care. Hey, Looney, hang on just 1 second for the outro, and I'll see you on the other side, okay? All right, take care, everyone.